Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the free-to-play cast brought to you by MMOBomb.com. I'm Mike Byrne, aka Magicman, your host for today, and it is May 2nd, 2019. You're watching it on the 3rd or later, and we have finally made it. 300 episodes of this shit. I mean, this high-quality internet programming, top-notch. I mean, we are the #1 channel on YouTube. We already established that. The staff did look into it. But we've got a nice little challenge we're going to go through today. You guys and gals can take your guesses along the way. We're going to talk about some of our favorite moments on the cast ever. And if we get to it, I got a little mini rapid-fire news, but that's kind of just like if I need it for the time. We're probably not going to cover any damn news today, so which is good, because for once it worked out, gang. Nothing fucking happened this week. So it'll happen right after we record this. Zach does send his regards. He could not make the recording today, but he does send his regards, and he'll be participating in our little anniversary challenge that Jason put together that's sure not to embarrass any of us on here. But let's go through and introduce the host for this episode number 300. Mr. Jason Winter, how are you, sir?
You know, I'm kind of doing okay, but I'm thinking now, when The Simpsons were doing episode number 300, which was like 20 years ago, they hyped it up by saying it was going to be, they're going to kill off a character. So I'm wondering which one of us is gonna die. Is that what we're doing this show?
I don't want to do that.
Okay, you sure? I mean, we don't really need all four of us, right?
I don't want to die.
No. Okay. All right. Well.
Oh no, he just doesn't want to die. He doesn't.
Okay. One of you guys can. Okay. That's fine.
Well, I mean, a 25% chance. If I knew that was going to be the case, I would have invited more hosts. Also on the line, Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
Hey, there is nothing going on here right now, so.
All right, we'll go straight to Mr. Troy Blackburn. How are you, Noob Fridge?
You know it's a special occasion. I've got a collar shirt on today.
Holy
because it's episode 300, baby.
Episode 300. Oh, man. And I just think back, like, I'm not even going to hit the news bump. We're just going to go. There's not even, like, maybe we're going to cover some garbage news. Like, well, wait, what games? I don't want to get an email from anybody. And that, and that, and that. Yeah, there maybe be garbage news later in the show.
Wow, we're going to get emails.
We're going to get emails. But probably not. So let's not even hit the news bump. Let's just go. It's been 300 episodes. That is many, many years. And all of us have, like, kind of varying experiences here, too. Like, I started the free-to-play cast way back when. We had a bunch of people that I still talk to, and like Havoc, who's my brother. My wife has even appeared on the show, Damina. We had Celsius, Brim, Sajiro. Lots of people throughout I guess about a year and a half, 2 years that I ran it. Then I kind of went over to Game Breaker. That's where I started working with Q and Jason, and then later Troy came aboard as well. So all met there. At that time, Jason, you were now doing the free-to-play cast with Spunkify and the occasional guest host, which I guested once or twice, too. I think on anniversary episodes.
I remember 100, I think.
Yeah, 100 or 200, something goofy like that. Now, all of us over here doing it. So we've all got this, like, none of us have been with it for every single episode, even if we weren't on every single episode. But, yeah, so we've got a ton of experience, and I asked a bunch of the hosts if they wanted to come. We got Troy to come. Zach did participate in this. I tried to get some of the older hosts, but schedule-wise it didn't quite pan out, and they don't play a lot of free-to-play anymore, so they were a little worried about making a good impression. So it is what it is. But we've got an anniversary challenge like no other. I'm going to let Jason set it up because he's the one that built this whole thing. We have Zach's answers, too. So Zach, even though he's not here, gets an equal opportunity to be embarrassed, just like the rest of us. So, Jason, what is this challenge all about?
Okay, so what I did is I went through in our content management system, our CMS, and I took, first of all, I selected free-to-play cast. So I'm only looking at the actual write-ups, the write-ups of the cast that were done either by you or by Spunkify back in the day. And I searched for every game individually. At least what I think are like top 100 or so that I thought we were going to mention. Like I didn't, some crappy little game that we talked about once. I know, never mind. But stuff that I figured we talked about a bunch. I searched for all of them. Tried to be as granular as I could with some cases. Like the example I gave was like, if I had to search in the text for Lord of the Rings Online, I also searched for Lotro, or I searched for GW2 along with the Guild Wars 2, trying to get every possible permutation I thought might have been used to describe it or whatever. And I just tallied all those up and made a top, in this case, top 12 list, because we had a three-way tie at number 10. So it goes down to 12. So I've got that there. Again, it's not perfect. It doesn't mean we talked about this exactly all those times, but they were at least mentioned in the write-up. They were important enough to get in there. And I think it is a pretty good list overall of how much we did talk about all those games. There are a few surprises, though. At least one game that surprises on there. Only one person got, but I was really surprised it was on there at all. And overall, that's the point, is that I had everyone submit their top 12 list. All three of the people here, along with Zach, to give what they thought would be the top 12 list. And I challenge you at home to do the same before we get into actually everybody else's lists.
Yeah, give or take a little bit, but this is essentially the top 12, because there's a three-way tie for 10th, the top 12 most talked about games on 299 episodes of the free-to-play cast. And so I think, like, the way you described it, so if something was small and in the rapid fire, that probably wouldn't have been counted as a count, because that would have been labeled as rapid fire news, not each individual game showing up in my show description. Something like that. Okay, cool. So this is not an exact science, but I'd say this is at least directionally accurate, as we like to say in the reporting business. I do, before we show you our list, or before we start going through these at all, Troy, I don't know about you, but I think I had an easy time coming up with about what I thought was a reasonable list of the games we would talk about the most over 300 episodes. But Jason's criteria of putting it in order was bullshit. I don't know about Q and Troy. I'm going to give you guys a chance. But for me, besides maybe two or three, and when we get to them and we're showing them, and I will talk about why, and you guys will talk about why we put certain things where, 8 of these was probably just dartboard. Just what number do I get? And it goes there. Troy, did you feel kind of the same way? How did you go about your list? What were your challenges?
I started with what I thought was number one, the biggest game that I thought we had talked about the most, and kind of went down from there. Like you said, that when I got down to like number 5 and 6, I started throwing darts at the board, because there were some games that are maybe not necessarily the most, popular games amongst our audience, but they're huge games that we've had to have talked about at some point. So yeah, from the top few, I feel fairly confident about. The rest of the way down, I'm just like, this looks like that would probably go there.
Q, your rationale?
That's pretty much exactly what I did. I think although mine was kind of broken into, okay, so you have like what I think are the top ones, and then like these 4 maybe, and then this group here, and then Jason comes back and is like, you don't have enough. I still counted 12, so I'm not sure how that happened, but I added another one. It was like, yeah, just sure, we're there somewhere.
Yeah, I worked
it out. In.
I'll say you guys are pretty good in the top parts of your lists. Your top half or so are really good. Bottom parts, not as much. But we'll get to that.
I will say that, like, and I can see everybody's list right now. By the way, I don't even know the answers to this. Only Jason knows what games are on the list and in what spot they are. And we're going to show you a little thing as a little game show reveal as we go here. So even speaking right now, Q, Troy, and I do not know how right or wrong we were, and even what the master list itself is. I will say, kind of looking through some of the lists here, there are 1 or 2 games that I'm like, damn, that's definitely going to be there. One game in particular that's on here that I just don't see any way it isn't on this list, but it isn't something I picked, is because I got locked in that is it running now mode, and didn't take into consideration a game that may not be active anymore. Right? Yeah, I kind of put the blinders on a certain game that I could easily see now, seeing it on 1 or 2 of these lists, It's
Yeah,
on.
'cause
It's
that was
got to
a-
be
that was
on
a
there.
big deal in the day. Son of a.
You guys are right and you're wrong. I'll explain how that works in a bit.
So it is funny seeing some things like I do see Fortnite on a couple of lists. It's not on mine. Simply because I don't think, as popular as it is, I just have this feeling, while I'm sure we talked about it on a few casts with some, when it was initially announced, when the Battle Royale started, and Crunch Time, I know that was the top. I just don't think we've talked about it all that much because it's Fortnite, What are we going to do? Come and say that they've added a skin? Well, we did that for the NFL because that was a weird promotion. But so, all right, Jason, how do you want to go about revealing this? Should I show the audience our lists first?
Yeah. Show the spreadsheet as you were showing it to me before we were running. So there we go. There's everybody's list. Do you have like the 1 through 12 you can see there?
Yep.
Okay. Somehow I'm not seeing that on my I mean the numbers. I had the oh, there it is. Okay, never mind. Just my little view didn't have it. Okay. So there you see everybody's list. Okay, there's everybody's list. And I guess we could just go right into it and go to the number 12 answer.
Yeah, and I don't, obviously for YouTube's sake, I don't want to stay on this list for the entire topic. So we are going to be talking, about a few, and then we'll come back, and trust us, you're not going to be looking at a spreadsheet for the next hour. So, Jason, I think let's do 10, 11, and 12 all at once, and we'll talk about those because this was a three-way tie, right?
Yeah, but okay. So the number 12 game there is something is what I'm saying. I can't believe nobody mentioned this game.
So, drum roll, I guess. Brrr. It is Marvel Heroes. Oh my god!
Speaking of games that don't exist anymore, but I just can't believe no one mentioned that.
Yeah, I feel really dumb.
For like 2 months.
I thought about it and I was like, nah.
I mean, it isn't even on any of our lists. Period. Not.
Yeah, I mean, other than the little time period where it was dying, I didn't feel like that we actually talked about it all that much.
Yeah, I mean, the gazillion, catastrophe. I can remember talking about that like maybe 2 or 3 times in a row over the course of a month or a half, but 11 times that's been on the cast.
Yeah.
Why? What the fuck were we thinking?
Man, I don't know.
The other thing I think that'll mess you up too is you think you talked about it a lot if you've written about it a lot.
Oh, yeah, true.
True. So some of the stuff that I'm pretty sure I picked was because it's like, well, I've covered this a bunch, so we probably talked about it on the show.
All right, so before we compare to see if we got any of these correct, since it's a three-way tie at 11 mentions, is that what that is?
Yeah, that's how many times. Yeah, that's how many times it was mentioned.
Okay. So
now, I'll just say too, by the way, everyone got at least half the games right.
Oh, that's cool.
Did at least that well.
Warframe makes the list. I
go.
would have thought that it would have been higher, and we're gonna reveal number 10 too, and then
As you see, Mike has Warframe at number 5. Yep.
League of Legends.
Yeah, again, something that we don't talk about a whole lot. About 3 of you have it. It looks like everyone but Q has that. But yeah, it's like you said, something we don't talk about.
That's what was missing from my 12.
Hey, look at so.
Oh yeah, sure. Now you want. Now you want to.
No, I actually have a little scratched off where I wrote it down. It's in there.
That would have been 13.
All right, so but look at this.
He came back and was like that, and I was just like, whatever. You mentioned hero, this, so yeah.
Ding! Mike's got a point.
Yeah.
Mike is on the board. Lisa, I'm on the board, man. It's the only point I'm going to be on the board.
You also had Warframe.
No, but I'm talking about placement correct, too. We all had, I had League of Legends, so did Troy, so did Zach, but I am the only one that had it in the right spot because we all did know that there was a 3-way tie for 10th.
Sure.
So we knew that going in. So lots of us had League of Legends, but I was the only one, and Warframe, I would have thought we talked about Warframe much more, and it looks like, did anybody else come with me on Warframe?
No, that didn't make my list for some reason.
I spaced on it too.
So I got Warframe on there, but I gave it a lot more credit than apparently we actually gave it. All right, so yay, a point. I'll take that. That's fantastic. Awesome. All right, go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say, now there is also a 2-way tie for the next 2 slots as well.
Now that we didn't know, so I've got to get these ones exactly. If I have it 8, it's got to be 8. Okay, so we're going to go, slot 9?
Yep.
That is Arcage.
Oh, okay.
Zach
Which I
had
think
it.
looks like
Zach
you
had it
and
at
Q
number
both
2.
have.
I had it at number 4.
Oh, and Zach.
And
Zach has it at 2.
Q is the closest, who had it at 7.
Yeah, but
Ooh.
if he had actually if League of Legends had gotten in there, it was number 1 on my written list.
I would have used everything. You have like 20 games listed there. You can't count them all.
Troy,
No, I don't. That's 12.
you spaced on Arcage?
As did all the players eventually.
Oh. No, to me, I have Arcage higher, and so did Zach, and so did Q. But I think we all were like, all right, we talked about it when it was in the East and how long it took to come West, and then we would have talked about it when Tryon Worlds had signed the deal to make it come here. Then we would have talked about it when it really was having hard times at launch. I'm surprised it's actually only 12, and I think some of you are too, because all of us had it much higher than that.
On some level, I'm kind of surprised that all the numbers are this low because it's like I would have expected them to be just more in general. But to see that some of those are only mentioned like once every 20 casts or so, I'm like, really? That's all?
Yeah, but
So-
think about that. Once every 20 casts is basically once a quarter.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, probably also, like I said, rapid fire stuff gets in there a bit too. So-
Yeah, and those aren't counted here since the games aren't called out individually.
Right.
All right, let's head
Next.
up. Let's do number 8.
And this one is all Zach.
Ooh, Fortnite.
Oh, no, it's not. Not yet. No, don't think it's not. It's not.
I am honestly surprised that Fortnite made the list at all. I don't imagine us talking about it as much as we apparently did, Troy.
Yeah, Fortnite doesn't feel like something that we cover, and even just going and reading the site as a fan sometimes, I don't feel like it's something that Bomb typically covers a whole lot of. So I'm surprised to see it this high on the list.
Yeah, Troy and I did not have it on our list. Q and Zach did. Q, you had it as number 1. So where were you feeling like we talk about it more?
Again, I think it's just if I write about it, I don't maybe I feel like I talk about it more, and I usually write all the Fortnite stuff. So
That is true. That is true.
I will point out Apex Legends is already at 4. Already 4 mentions. That's been out for like.
What the hell was that?
That's Thunder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's only been out for like 3 months. It's already got 4 mentions in the cast.
See,
So.
well, it's creeping up on Fortnite everywhere, including in cast mentions. All right, let's head up. Let's do number 7. So 12 mentions was enough for 8th place, huh? Skyfall. Holy shit.
This is the
Look
game
at
that I was
that!
like, what is that doing there?
What is that doing at 14? And look at it. Look, ding. Zach gets a
just
point.
Absolutely nails that one.
Holy hell. Skyforge isn't even on any of the...
Exactly.
Troy, what is that?
This game was forgotten the week it came out. Why was this talked about so much?
Even looking back, Jason, do you have any context of why? I can't think of why we would have talked about Skyforge so much besides,
it had that silly
when it
battle
was
royale.
coming,
Remember that?
when it came, the Battle Royale, and the console release.
It was the big game, and it was the big MMO that people were talking about for a while. So I mean, I guess that I see a few of these on this list that are like in that same feeling. Like this was the game that everyone talked about, and like you say, like 3 weeks later, everyone forgot about it. So
that must have been like 14 mentions within 4 casts, Q. It's just like every topic was Skyforge. Seeing it on the list, I can't figure out what the hell we would have talked about.
Look at the numbers. We've only mentioned it 3 times since episode 200, and 2 of those were for the Battle Royale.
Which was awful. That was one of my favorite first looks to do. I still wish that the actual recording that I wanted to do was done for that one, Troy, remember? That's when I downloaded, what was it? Unreal Tournament, the free-to-play one.
Oh, yeah.
Because I couldn't get into Skyforge, so it had a screen just showing me downloading Unreal Tournament, playing it. All right, let's head back to the list here. Number 6.
This is also a tie. I should have mentioned these last 2.
Ah, that's fine. Rift. I think a lot of us had Rift, but nobody had it in the right spot. So
I
Troy,
believe all 4 of you had it. Yeah,
Troy, you've got Rift. Zach put it at number 1. I didn't think it was that high. I was pretty close. I put it a little lower. counting ties, 1 spot lower. And then Q, you also put it up there. What were you and Zach and Troy? What are you guys thinking?
Jason, if you actually go
She's
back and
writing
look
about
at
it.
your chat,
Oh
I
my
did give you
God.
League of Legends as 1, so it's at 3.
Oh, so
Wait,
Rift
what?
should be 3.
Go look at your chat.
Hold on.
Go look at it. I went
Hold
and
on,
checked.
hold on. We have a scoring discrepancy. There is a
We have
red
a
flag on the field.
All of my stuff moves down.
Call in the judges.
Because somehow you miss League. Being at number
Okay, well,
1.
then you have 13 games listed if you count EverQuest as 2. Yeah, she is correct, though. She actually is correct.
Because you were like,
All right,
you
so
have 12.
we're going to
Give me
take
another-
EverQuest next off of your list.
No, keep... Why does she do that? Whatever. Yeah, do that. Go ahead.
Just move the bottom one. I do it.
There.
I was sure I put that in there.
Is this what your list should look like now?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. There we go. All right. After the review, the ruling on the field is overturned. Q, you are not charged a timeout. We can continue. All right. So Q had Rift at 3. Troy, you had it at 4. I had it a little lower than it actually ended up. Zach had it at number 1. I wish Zach was here to kind of speak to
Explain
that one. But Q, where'd this one come from? And I know you and I have mentioned Rift, but thinking back on the news, I'm still surprised to see it up there.
Yeah, that might be it. And there was a lot of bitching about Rift over the years as it slowly. So I feel like we spent a lot of time just being angry at Rift on the show.
And it should be mentioned, too, anytime, if we were talking about, like, when the sale went down last year, again, if the cast note said we talk about Tryon's games and didn't mention the games by name, then it's not going to be listed there. So it might have been higher as a sort of mainish topic, but didn't get counted for this.
Troy, you thought this one was spoken of more, too.
I did. I went based on, because I know you and I were both pretty big fanboys of Rift
Oh,
back
yeah?
in the day, and I know Q was a fan as well. So I was just assuming because we, at least at one point, enjoyed the game quite a bit, that it was just one of those things that we would let bleed in more, just because it's one of the games that we like really enjoyed, at least back in the day.
Yeah, one of those games that just had what was pretty much universally agreed upon to be the best free-to-play conversion ever. And then,
Until
God,
it
they were like, oh, we did that right? Oh, okay, let's do the opposite from now on.
Yeah, that was Lord of the Rings Online when it first went free to play as well. Speaking of games you guys fanboy about, Secret World Legends is not on the list anywhere.
Oh,
It
and
had,
I considered it, but
did you see it? I did not put it on the list.
yeah,
I'm surprised,
I didn't either.
I'm surprised by both of you. It had 8 mentions.
Yeah, well,
had
to me it was just, I know I've enjoyed that. I know Q enjoys that. I know we've talked about it, but to me there was no way it was going to be like top 12 talked about. Proud of us on that one.
And speaking of other fanboy things, you guys, 2 of you have Lord of the Rings Online. That was 10. So that almost made the list.
Oh yeah, and I put it down there too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who did somebody else put it? Oh, Zach put it just.
Zach has it as
so
well,
he
yeah.
essentially had it in the same spot I did, since we would have been aware that there was a
Basically,
3-way
yeah.
tie.
All right.
Awesome. All right, so let's go to number
Next game is
5.
not a tie.
Not a tie, so it's a pure 5th place. Guild
Five
Wars
seconds.
2. Q
Wow.
gets the points.
Woo!
Hits it
And
exactly.
I totally guessed at that.
Oh, Troy, look, I'm off by 1. I put it in 6th. It's 5th.
Well, I put it number freaking 1. I thought for
Yeah.
sure that is the biggest game that we cover with the most support, the most constant development. I thought for sure. I mean, they put out a lot of newsworthy stuff. I thought for sure that would be number 1.
I think the issue is that it only went free to play like 4 years ago. So we haven't covered it as extensively as we would have.
Now, I'm not saying that I got this, but I am saying I'm the only one that could possibly get the number 1 right now at this point. So,
I'm just
Guild-
happy that my game
Guild Wars 2 is out, Rift is out,
the first
League is
6
out.
only had 1.
I told you guys your bottom halves are kind of rough, but you do really well, much better in the top.
Well, and keep in mind, we're only awarding points here for actual positional correctness too, which I think is bullshit. And
This is your score. You're making that scoring system.
Jason,
That one's not mine.
Jason was like, "Oh no, you got to get the spot. Gotta get
counted
the
total
spot."
points.
But I am proud of us. We actually have a really good representation so far of knowing what we've talked about, with a few oddball. Oh shit, I forgot about that. But we're not doing so hot on the positioning. So let's see if that
Next two
continues
are a tie.
as we go to 4. WildStar Q. Damn it. Back-to-back
See, and it was
points.
a toss-up on that, like between Rift and Terra. All of those were a toss-up.
WildStar is the game I was talking about at the beginning, that once I saw the lists, which I literally only saw everybody else's list 2 seconds before we got everybody on this call, so Jason has held all of this close to the vest. As soon as I saw WildStar, I was like, shit. That is definitely going to be on there somewhere. I know we've talked about that a lot, and those are what my lenses of whatever's running today stopped me from putting WildStar on. My brain didn't even go to discontinued games. But Troy, back to back, you see your number 1 and your number 2 topple.
And my number 2 higher than my number 1. I knew WildStar was going to be pretty high on this list. I mean, that game was always dying for... It was dying for more years than some games live. So it had to have been on this list somewhere. So at least it was in the top half. So, but I had it at number 2.
Speaking of games that were always dying, I thought Firefall might make the list, but it only had 8 mentions.
See, I just typed when we were talking
that
about
too.
Yeah, when Mike just brought up games that were no longer running, I was like, crap, Firefall. I should have put Firefall.
No, mine was WildStar. When I saw it on Troy's and Q's list, I was like, shit, that's definitely on there. I am embarrassed that I forgot that one. All right, let's go back. We are now in the top 3, gang. The top 3 games ever brought up on the free-to-play cast in 3 episodes. Terra clocks in at number 3. Zach gets that point. I was a little off. I had Terra a little further down. So did Q. Troy, you had it way down there. I'm going to be honest, Jason. While I can definitely... All of us saw Terra being on this list. I am stunned that it is number 3. I am stunned that it is mentioned that much.
And this is one where I had to do a little research because the letters T-E-R-A can show up in words. So I had to actually click on each of the individual ones to make sure that it was actually mentioned there. So, but yeah, this is as legit as it goes. But yeah, I mean, it seems like a game we just haven't talked about that much. Like, oh, they made a new class or something. I guess we'll bring that up. Must have been a lot of slow news weeks for Terra.
Well, it's also one of those ones, though, Q, that was like really newsworthy for a long time because we didn't know the payment model and it was the next big sexy. Then it went and launched with the subscription, so it wouldn't have been news for a while. Then it would have been news for a long time as free-to-play was coming. Free-to-play conversion happened. Expansions happened. Onto consoles happened. So it makes sense to me, but I'm really surprised, Q, that it's as high as it is. 17, putting it in 3rd place.
Yeah, I don't know that like all of those individual things would be something that we would talk about anyway, like but it's just, and it's certainly not, it's coming to free to play, it's coming to free to play for however many weeks or, however long it took them to get it there. Although I guess speculation on what the microtransactions and all that jazz would have been like once it's free to play would have probably been a good topic. But I think all of that was even kind of before I joined, so I just guessed.
Jason, this gives me more hope for my number 1. Because as we talked about yesterday when I was putting my list together, I said, I have a game at number 1 that has no right being number 1 on any list. And it had nothing to do with the game. But seeing Terra at 3, I gotta believe that Bless is now either 1 or 2, simply because of the same logic, Troy. How long it was drawn out where we didn't know if it was free to play, and then it failed in Russia, and then it did this, and then it did this, and finally it's coming west. And I mean, it's literally been around since episode 50.
So we talked about this on Game Breaker back in 2011.
Yeah, I mean, it's been there as a game that was highly anticipated everywhere. So we'll see.
These are not ties either. The top 2 are individual. Just so you know.
All right. Coming in at the number 2 spot. Oh, there it is.
Oh.
Bless Online falls to number 2. Now I'm really kind of shocked. I mean, number 1 has to be Star Wars then, right? I mean, it has to be. What? Bless Online coming in 2nd at 19, Troy. What the hell comes in 1st then? besides Star Wars, which again had the whole hyped before we knew the payment model, so it would have been covered, then not covered, then covered for a while as it was converting to free to play. Then is it going to fail? I mean, I specifically remember doing 2 episodes about Star Wars after we knew it was pay to play, before it went free to play, speculating on if it would go free to play. So it's got to be Star Wars, right?
If it's not Star Wars, it's got to be City of Heroes from way back in the day. And we've talked about it a little bit too with its demise and stuff.
No.
But I think City of Heroes still has a chance to make this list.
Do you really? You think City of Heroes comes in talked about more than Bless Online?
I think there's a chance. I don't think it's in since I've joined like us as a group, but I think there's a chance from back in the day. There's more mentions than what you think.
I don't.
So I just want to point out here those 19 mentions. Here are the episodes we talked about Bless. 157, 160. First of all, it didn't start until halfway through. 157 is the first Bless mention. Then 169, 177, 218, 223, 228, 229, 230, 239, 240, 249, 253, 256, 264, 274, 278, 279, 281, 297.
From about 260 on, that was anytime we had Troy on, we made sure Bless Online was a topic.
There was a point in time where if you were going to talk about Bless, you made sure I was on. Or if I was going to be on, you made sure you talked about Bless.
Yeah. All right, Q, what's sitting at number 1 then? All of our number 1 answers have been knocked off the board. I think I can't imagine something besides Star Wars beating it. I mean, there are certainly bigger games. I see, Troy, you had World of Tanks, Warships. I felt, oh, man, I should have put that on the list. But I don't think there's any way that that's number 1.
Not number 1, I don't think so.
Path of Exile is another one that has on my list, but I'm kind of like, there's no way that was talked about more than Bless Online. Troy thinks it could be City of Heroes. I think he's nuts. Q, what do you got?
I don't know. I think Troy could be right.
Really?
Yeah.
I think you're both nuts.
I'm just sitting here going,
Like, right?
Knows what we're talking, Jessica knows.
Right. I mean, like, here, I'm going to show the list to everybody again. You know, see what's on there. Like, there's no way I mean, come on. That would mean that we talked about City of Heroes more times than we talked about Marvel Heroes, and none of us remember talking about Marvel Heroes before it was closing. There's no way. If City of Heroes is number 1, I don't know if I should say anything like that.
Let that self-doubt creep in.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really only one way to find out.
I kind of don't want to find out now.
I mean, we could be wrong. Did you see the rest of my list?
It has to be Star Wars. I think it has to be. Here we go. Number 1. Star Wars The Old Republic at 20 mentions. I had it in second. Oh, my God. If I would have just flipped those two.
when I saw your list, Mike, I was like, wow, you just got to flip those.
Yeah, I didn't do too badly there.
It should be noted. Okay, so Q and Mike each had 8 correct, including all of Q's top 8 are on the list. Or 9 through 12, not so much. Troy, you had 7. Zach had 6.
Go us. Not too bad. Oh, if I would have just flipped those two, I could have taken the win. But in this case, Zach and Q on the exact match placement take the tie. Zach getting Terra in 3rd place and Skyforge in 7th, and Q grabbing back-to-back Wildstar and Guild Wars 2 in 4th and 5th places. So congrats, Q. Zach's not here to claim the trophy, so it's all yours. What would you like to say to your adoring fans?
I had no idea what was going on when I wrote that list.
You had Hearthstone at number 9. That was one of the games that had 10 mentions, along with H1Z1 in its various forms, Neverwinter, Path of Exile.
See, I forgot H1Z1 existed.
Yep.
I will say this, Troy.
I would have thought I would have been there actually on the top 12.
I'm surprised I didn't put Path of Exile on there though. Now that I think about it, I was just like sitting there going, "Wait, what are games?" at that point. But by the time I got to the bottom of the list, of like, what games exist?
Troy, I will say that had Q not pulled out the expertly timed red flag challenge, she would have ended up with 0.
Oh well,
because
obviously
WildStar and
missed
Guild
my
Wars 2
message
would have been
where,
bumped up a spot
sure,
on her
yeah.
list, and
Yeah,
they would have
Jason,
been out
you
of
missed
place.
my message where I had SWOTOR at number 1 that I'm sending to you right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, my message was sent last night, and I didn't edit it.
Well, good on
Yeah,
us, Jason.
exactly.
What did you say were the overalls? How did every, not counting placement, just what games? What were the totals
Overall,
there?
Q and Mike both had 8.
Oh, go
Troy had
us,
7,
Q.
Zach had 6.
Hey, you know what? I'll take it. And my 1 and 2, I had them. I just had them swapped. I'll take it. I'm proud of that list. Even though when
Yeah.
I sent it to Jason last night, I was like, I'm only sending this to you now because if I don't send it to you now, I'm going to argue with myself for the next 3 hours over the placement of these damn games.
Right?
Oh yeah, when I
Exactly.
wrote it, I just sent it because I was not about to sit here and try to like just think and overanalyze and keep moving numbers around because I could have done that for like 2 days.
Right?
And honestly, what I think part of what confused Jason is I actually, near the end, I had EverQuest and 2 on the same line because I couldn't decide which one, and then it was like
Oh, gotcha.
EverQuest next question mark.
It's interesting that you guys do. A couple of you fell in the EverQuest trap. Zach put next up at 4. So I had to really go through. Like I had to spend like 10 minutes going through this and keep. Because if I search for EverQuest, that gives me EverQuest next, EverQuest 2, and I have to search for EQN. I have to search for EQ2. Here's what I think is the exact list of everything. EverQuest Next got 7 mentions. EverQuest Next Landmark, which was called itself as all 3 terms at once, got 3 mentions, but I count that as a separate game. EverQuest itself alone 3. EverQuest 2 had 4, and there were 3 references to the EverQuest games or the EverQuest series or whatever, which I didn't count as anything. So, Next had 7, and that's the highest anything got individually.
Jason, thank you. That was a lovely little challenge there.
That was enjoyable.
That was enjoyable. Were you shocked to see Star Wars: The Old Republic at number 1? Was there a game you were just absolutely sure was going to be on this list, or did you space on things like WildStar like I did? Because
My only real shock was Skyforge. Seeing Skyforge.
I meant the
on list.
viewers, Dippy, not you.
Oh what? Oh, well, I thought you got me. You said Jason. You said that. Damn it.
It did sound like you were directing
All
something.
right, so
at
Jason, go ahead. Where are your
Whatever.
surprises?
Yeah, that. Whatever. Never mind. H1Z1 I thought should have been on there too. But whatever.
Get the hell out of here, H1Z1.
Hey, it made 10.
No, that's one that I instantly. Yeah, we definitely talked about Marvel Heroes more than H1Z1.
By
Marvel
one
Hero,
time.
Marvel
By
Hero.
one time.
That's all you needed, baby. Just that
Oh,
one.
by the way, I did.
We
do just a little-
definitely makes it sound like it would have been several more times. Like, yeah, we definitely talked about that one more because one time we talked about it more.
I will say I tried. I just did a really quick search for companies too. Tryon came up 24 times.
Oh,
which
I'm
seemed to be
sure.
not-
Yeah.
Oh, if we
I'm
did
sure.
companies.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because you've got Rift in that bucket, you've got Arcade in that bucket, you've got a little Trove in that bucket. Those are some big free-to-play games as far as topic-wise and fucking up-wise. Awesome. So let us know how you thought things were going to go down in the comments below. Before we slide over to the bombs, we're going to skip the mini rapid-fire round. We've taken up enough time, and really all that happened is, hey, Eden Rising, that tower defense game, is going to have a little bit of a free-to-play mode on there. Jason wrote an awesome article about going back home to MMORPGs that you've played in the past, a la City of Heroes and what's going on there, and some of the older games, so definitely check that out. Riot employees threatened to walk out, allegedly, over all the stuff going on there, but the walkout didn't happen, and Riot is proud of them and holding meetings, so who knows if it'll turn into anything. We'll keep an eye out. And kicking it off to keep them in number 1 place, Star Wars: The Old Republic did put out its roadmap to make sure that give you a taste of everything that's going to happen leading up to the next expansion. But before we go over to the weekly
See,
bombs,
now the problem is though that Mike's going to be writing his report, his synopsis of the episodes now. He's going to be thinking about this every time now.
no, all I'm going to do is in parentheses, like hidden in everything, is just put a game title. And I'll just, even if that's not a topic, I'm just going to keep putting it all over the notes so that when you do a control find, I'll be like, I'm pretty sure Star Wars: The Old Republic was mentioned 143 times. Before we go to the bombs, Jason, let's talk about favorite cast moments ever, whether they were good, bad, intentional, whatever. What just peeks out in your mind through 300 episodes, whether you were on that episode or not?
I'm still looking to find a way to bring back Agent Wintersky.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. That's
Yeah.
right. That was your Russian counterpart.
That was my Russian spy for wargaming stuff.
Anytime we did war game reporting.
I did it like once, maybe twice.
You did it twice. Yeah, I think it was twice. What about you, Troy? That's a good one, Jason. I forgot about that.
Oh, mine's a little self-serving. I've never looked so good in this industry as when I absolutely nailed Bless Online and how I thought it was going to fall out. It makes me look like I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but it also makes you look like you don't keep your word because I believe, Jason, there
Here
is
we
still
go.
a video that is owed to the viewers on this topic.
Yes.
Do we still not have that?
We do not have that,
No,
Jason.
no.
We do not have that.
Kick him off the
Not yet.
cast.
Q, go ahead.
You know what? Since he's not here, I think I actually miss listening to like you guys and Zach fight.
And I'm sure we would be having a spirited debate about the Epic Games Store if Zach were
That
on
would
the
be
show.
every episode.
Yeah, and Zach, he did the first look. I obviously gave us his things here. Still very much a part of the team, just with his new career. Hard to do the cast, so we kind of have to do it special times to get him in here. But we'll get him on here shortly. I still got to give mine, and I think I've done this before on one of the anniversary shows, and it is still my all-time favorite moment. Is back when the podcast used to be audio only. I mean, the video was just gameplay, and half the time it wasn't even the game we were talking about. It was just so we could justify putting it on YouTube because the audience was more on the iTunes side of things. We don't even put it on iTunes anymore. But I remember Brim, a friend of mine, one of the hosts, talking about playing Star Wars The Old Republic on his laptop on his desk and getting so mad at one of the initial raids in there that he started spiking his laptop and he broke it. Now, that's not the best part of the story. The best part of the story is then having to explain that, how his laptop got broken, to his girlfriend, now wife. Fast forward all these years, they're married. How the laptop broke and not wanting to say, I got mad at a video game and spiked it. So he shared this story on the cast on what happened. She got home, she asked about it, and he told her that the bookshelf above the desk that had her heavy textbooks on it from school fell and broke his laptop, and that she shouldn't put her books up there anymore.
You mean ex-wife?
The best part about this was she had no idea that that wasn't true, and he told the story on the cast thinking she will never... He had done 30 episodes, and she had never listened to one. You care to imagine what was the first episode she listened to by a fluke? Amazing, amazing stuff. All right, let's slide over and get started with the weekly bombs. Again, I've kept this relatively short, anticipating that first part was going to go on a little longer, so I'm going to give mine, but I didn't put a ton of viewer stuff in here. It's not because I don't love you. We'll put much more in the next episode. You just got to make sure to put your bombs and your comments in the comments so that I can put them in the show. Just cut it a little short today because of the anniversary stuff I knew we were doing. I got to give it to the viewers, and I know that's sappy, but hell, 300 episodes, it's not easy to do that for anything, whether it's a podcast or even a topic you love talking about. It is not an easy task, and literally, we wouldn't have done it without the people that watch and participate and come on over and hang out with us. So dub-bomb to all of you for helping us get to this milestone, and here's to another 300 more. Jason?
First of all, one last thing I forgot to mention. City of Heroes had 6 mentions. 2 of those in the last 2 weeks. So,
Yeah,
not even close.
Troy, I don't know what the hell you were smoking, thinking that might be number 1.
Look, man, I needed one more game off my list to show up, okay?
All right.
So that you and I weren't tied.
I'm going to give my dub-bomb to Ariel and Distill. I don't know if that's a real name or the name the person uses or whatever, but he says on Twitter, they said this on Twitter a little earlier this week, said, anyone play PlanetSide 2 willing to play with mostly blind person? I'm willing to be a medic or something. So dub-bomb to Ariel for playing PlanetSide 2, playing an FPS when you're mostly blind. That's awesome. And also, really, I think half of my teammates have been mostly blind when they played. So,
Womp womp.
but good to
It's
you. Good to you
mean.
for overcoming those challenges. And don't just play a medic. Be a shooty class. Be a heavy assault.
Years
No one's
and
gonna
years
care.
and years ago, before Game Breaker, when I was here the first time, it was very short-lived. Nobody watched it. And so we didn't do many episodes of it. I think we did like 3. But it was an MMO Bomb interview show where we just talked to gamers who, like if Troy didn't do this for a living, he was just a gamer and he had something he wanted to talk about. We did like an interview program with them. And one of them was with a gentleman who's had watched the cast for a long time, who was legally blind. And to the point that could not see. I hate when people say, "Oh, I'm legally blind," and then you talk about it, and it's okay. Well, they could do this, but they couldn't drive. You know.
Sure.
This guy, his color palette was basically all he could view, and he was a League of Legends, and his ELO was much higher than mine ever would be. So it was. I know that doesn't take much, but go ahead, Troy.
I'll be sappy too. Dub bomb to the viewers. Without you guys, we don't do this thing that we love. So thank you for that. And then I got to squeeze in an A-bomb for the closing of Atlas Reactor. My heart is sad.
Oh, Jason, I told you.
Hmm.
I said that in chat with Q and Jason when we saw that. I was like, Troy's going to be upset.
I am devastated.
And then we speculated that Troy was probably part of the problem because he liked the game but didn't play it.
I play more than you might think.
Go ahead, Q.
Actually, I'm giving a bomb to Jason for coming into chat and asking before spoiling anything from in-game today.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
The thing he
See,
wanted to talk about isn't really a spoiler. It was an annoyance of his.
But yeah, I hate hearing anything about that. So I was like
Yeah.
that up till yesterday when I saw it. So yeah, I respected it.
Yeah.
All right.
From the viewers, Kanata said, now that the server software for City of Heroes is out there, at the very least, people can spin up their own small servers and play solo or with friends. I did this myself, and it was pretty amusing playing the game with admin powers, summoning all of the mastermind pets at once and shit like that. I could see that being a little bit of a blast. Go ahead, Jason.
Joseph S. says, my brother runs a restaurant and until recently was working 7 days a week, open to close. So yes, Q is very right. So yeah, I will admit that, yeah, people, I even apologize to Q a little bit for kind of jumping down her throat yesterday after that. That said, it is different, though, if he runs the restaurant, if he's the person working at it, as opposed to working for someone else and doing crunch because they tell you to. So.
Well, you can, running the restaurant's a kind of a vague term. He could be a manager or something.
That's
so it's
true.
technically
That's
not his restaurant. He's just running the restaurant for somebody else. But Jason and I actually discussed this. And I also, was admitted I could have explained myself better. I was not doing a very good job at trying to get my point across on that. So.
Yeah, I got messages that were like, "Oh, Jason and I talked. We're all good." And I was like, "I didn't know you guys had a fight." What?
I didn't know because I'd forgotten. By the time he messaged me, I was like, "Oh, I forgot that this was even a thing."
I thought about it that night, and I was like, yeah, I got a little
She was like, "Jason apologized to me," and I was like, "For what? What the hell did he do?" Go ahead, Q. Take the next one.
Neo Phantom, A-bomb to Final Fantasy XIV for making me live through Avenger Affinity Wars again by deleting half my friends from the server splits. So, Final Fantasy XIV snapped your server?
Wow.
server split. Okay, so they actually expanded the number of servers.
So there, I'm not going to go into it on this show. They're doing a data center reorg. Which is kind of splitting and condensing certain things. And Final Fantasy XIV, have fun.
Okay.
Troy, go ahead.
Mark Brinkman. I've missed City of Heroes for years. I love walking down memory lane in this game now. I've got better hardware now, so this runs well. I'm a little nervous that it still bears all the copyrights, logos, disclaimers, and all for NCSoft, Cryptic, Paragon Studios, etc., and none of them are involved. You can imagine said parties wanting to distance themselves from these private servers, not wanting the performance thereof to reflect badly on them. I also noticed that supergroup bases are closed off. Supergroups aren't earning prestige. I imagine this is a space-saving method for the servers, not letting the players make tons of custom base maps. I missed that, and if this comes back, I hope they open things like that back up. AE is up, and several XP grind missions are up there, and I can imagine that takes some space.
And the City of Heroes saga keeps chugging on. Sankofa Smooth says, it's awesome that you guys still do this. We think so too. Thank you so much.
I got nothing else to do. I'm available for parties and bar mitzvahs. Whatever.
Question of the week last week. What game from your past needs to have its own private server spun up? Misfit Rain says, since NCSoft is negotiating a City of Heroes server, maybe a WildStar server can pop up? Actually, I wouldn't mind if EverQuest Landmark would take the server out of their game and make it where you can just visit other people's lands. I'd buy that for a $19.99 price tag. Don't say that. Daybreak might actually. People made some really neat structures in there. Go ahead, Jason.
Wacko Doodle says, maybe the Disney Nexon deal could bring back Toontown Online. After all, people still love it, and even DuckTales reboot showed people there that still love it. Then again, imagine MapleStory with Disney promotions. That would be awesome, although weird. The City of Heroes just feels like everyone wanted something to happen, but nobody wants to actually do something. Like everyone's huddled around a table, but nobody's committed to getting up, so it's only awkward talking. Yeah, I mean, people are doing something, but...
You ever do that at a restaurant? Where it's just like, I really want to go, but I can't. I mean, I've been here 15 minutes, so everybody just sits around.
That is the worst part about when I'm on
That's
like a
awful.
business trip or something. Like when I go out to see some studio for some game.
Yeah.
We got like 10 people at the table, and it's like, I want to go.
Yep.
But
it'd be rude. It'd be so rude.
I have to be sociable. Ugh.
Q, finish it off.
We're gamers. We don't do that. Neo Phantom, question of the week. Good old original Ragnarok online server without all those private servers, pay to win, 10 times XP boost. I miss the original feel and the community of that game.
That is one that I didn't even think of, but I am sure would have quite the interest in a spin-up of an old classic server there. Question of the week this week, as we're starting to head into summer, the middle of the year there, got to do the whole check-in. We do this twice a year. Time to check in. What is your free-to-play game that you are eagerly awaiting or watching, whether it comes this year, next year, doesn't have plans to come at all? And let us know. This isn't us just being silly. We want these answers. This helps determine what we keep our eyes on and cover for all of you. Gang, it has been amazing. Thank all three of you and Zach and every other host we've ever had on the Free-to-Play cast. 300 episodes is a huge milestone, and we wouldn't have made it without any of you. Everybody volunteering their time to come and talk about games. I certainly appreciate it, and thank all of you. Q, where can everybody find you?
As always, hanging out on Twitter at Quitland.
Mr. Blackburn.
On Twitter at NoobFridge. Thank you, guys.
Jason.
And Mike, thank you for taking care of all the administrative stuff on this, doing all the recordings, the technical crap, whatever. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you're sweet.
Find me on Twitter at Winter Informal, streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
Are you trying for a bigger paycheck?
I am not the one that signs the check, so you're
We're
kissing
talking
the
about
wrong
before
ass.
the show came on about how it's the ugly group of guys. Anyway.
Oh!
Gang, that's 300. I mean, I don't know what to do. Put your shit in the comments like you always do. Stay safe. See you on the server.